morning again. Welcome again to our friends and loved ones from out of town. I want to apologize to you because you come on a Sabbath that the pastor wasn't here and you're stuck with me. But I found out somewhere along the way that the same crutch he leans on, I can lean on. Same God he calls on, I can call on. So if you bow your heads, then we'll call on him at this time. Father, I stretch my hands to thee, no other help I know. Thou withdraw thy hand from me, Father, where shall I go? Pray for the presence of the Holy Spirit throughout this whole church, but especially right here where I stand. That the words I say may be acceptable in your sight first and beneficial to those that listen secondly. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Let me just say that it's good to see members of the Olsen family. I've seen them in other places. I think in Atlanta. Yes, I've seen them visiting Smiths up there, Rachel and Christina. And well, good to see Lydia back there visiting from cool Massachusetts. And it's good to see Alice and church and staff alongside the stalwart ex-football player Charles Sapp. For those of you that know the Sapp name, Warren is his cousin. And it's good to see so many of the visitors. It's good to see all of you. And you notice that it's now 12:04. And I want you to know, be comfortable in knowing that we didn't come here for the steak. So, don't go to sleep. No matter what I don't say. But I come to be simple. I have to be simple because I'm a simply. Simply. Yo, you school teacher was posting, is that a word? And the title of my little simple dissertation this morning is Simple Advice to the Selfish and Strong-Willed. I'm not putting a title on anybody anymore. If you feel that you're a selfish, strong-willed person, then listen up. And if you're not, listen up anyway, because you might meet somebody who is. In the early stages of this country, there was a slogan that went around. There's always been slogans, no matter what the situation, whether group or united or singly, there's always been slogans. And when the United States was, before they were the United States, when they were fighting for their independence from the old mother country, there was a slogan that said, we trust in God, but keep your powder dry. Now what that meant was, in those days, they didn't have the powder case shells like they do now. They had to put in the ball, put in the powder, pack it, and they put their rifles and they fired one shot. then it was necessary to go through that whole process again. But to make it work, the powder had to be extremely dry. If it got wet, it wouldn't work. So they were saying, we trust in God, but be willing to fight. And then they had another slogan that someone came with, I think it was Nathan Hale, that said, give me liberty or give me death. Here's someone who would fight rather than to be under captivity. And as time went on, and the United States was pulled by Japan into a Second World War, when Japan sneaked over and bombed Pearl Harbor, this had an effect on the whole nation. So the nation's cry was at that time, when anyone felt down, when anyone felt like quitting, when anyone felt like giving up, it would say, remember Pearl. And that would voice them up and speed them along. Remember, her was the slogan. But as time went on, the slogans began to change from a united force when the country was saying one thing and one thing only. It broke down in the 60s and 70s that people started saying their own slogan. An absolute erosion during the 60s and 70s as their traditional values and once hallowed institutions like the home, marriage, and the church, they were washed away by a tide of apathy. No one seemed to care. And when that tide eroded, we as a nation took inventory of our losses and found that a spirit of selfishness was left, thus making the 80s and the 90s generation campaigning for self. You deserve a break today. You remember that? Yeah. Master the possibility. Membership has its advantages and privileges. Have it your way. And the dog-eating dog mentality developed in this country. And you know, usually what happens in the country happens in the church too. Usually. And this widespread washout of Christianity, Christian values, had created a different American than what our ancestors fought and died for. America has been a melting pot for me first, compromising the united unity of all the nations together. Don't do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but do unto others before they do unto you. Don't get mad, get even. Get it all you can all you get, and sit on the can. If we become a permissive in the 60s and delusioned in the 70s, we've grown angry and defensive in the 80s and 90s, that laid back attitude of the 20s. Fight back. Don't take it. We have developed a dog-eat-dog mentality, and instead of domesticating the dog, we've unleashed it. Who let the dog out? If we are ever to make an impact on our culture, we must not let ourselves become conformed to it. In Romans 12, verses 1 and 2, You can turn to that. We won't have very many texts, and if we do, you can write it down. I'm going to read this from the King James Version. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercy of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And here's what the Living Bible says. And so, dear brother, I plead with you to give your bodies to God. Let them be a living sacrifice, holy, to the kind he can accept when you think of what he has done for you. Is this too much to ask? Don't copy behavior and customs of this world, but be a new and different person with fresh newness in all you do and think. Then you will learn from your own experience how his way will really satisfy you. Throwing yourself aside custom of the world. To avoid being squeezed into the mold, we must live counter to the culture. Jesus has been telling us how to do that in Matthew 5. In verse 38, and I would like for you at this time to turn to Matthew 5. Go down to verse 38 and just place your finger on whatever there, because we're going from there down to 48. In verse 38, his followers were called to live counter to. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. And just let me add, these were the original teeth. The origins of this law predates back to the Old Testament and goes back to the Code of Hammurabi. One article of this code stated, if a man has caused the loss of an eye, his eye one should cause to be lost. If he had caused the loss of a limb, one of his limbs must be caused to be lost. And if he had made a tooth to fall out of somebody or punched them in the mouth and knocked the tooth out, he too must lose the tooth. The law became incorporated in the legal framework of the Old Testament. You can find in Exodus 21 and in Leviticus 24. But the code of conduct for subjects of Christ's kingdom goes beyond that. His followers are to release instead of resist. And this is what we're talking about today. Love instead of hate. And be perfect, not merely human. You know, the people say all the time, well, I'm only human. It's just saying be perfect. Because if you're perfect, you know you're not perfect. If you're human, you know you're not perfect. Release instead of resist. To establish the fundamental principles of his kingdom, Jesus dug deeper than the code of Hammurabi, through the spectrum of Old Testament legalism to the bedrock of character founded in the Beatitudes. On the basis of that, he constructed his code of conduct. Christ's code of conduct is based on the Beatitudes. What I say, this is his answer to what you have heard. But I say to you, do not resist him who is evil. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, let him have your cloak also. And whoever shall force you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks of you, and do not turn away from him who wants to borrow from you. Now I know you probably having a problem with some of that. I know. Woven into these words are certain rights that we, in our human nature, cling to as our rights. Our right to dignity, our right to comfort, our right to privacy, and our right to possession. And when these rights become threatened, we hire the best legal fish money can buy to fight against them and to win them back. But Jesus' advice is that we take off our clothes and refuse to fight in the first place. To be able to do that takes courage to release your rights. There's going to be a battle going on. Somebody try to take your rights. It's a natural instinct to fight back. That's why we have so much road rage. This is my lane. Why are you cutting in front of me like that? And you can leave home after worship in the morning and go to work or to school or wherever you're going, singing the songs of Zion, seeing the face of Christ, until somebody cuts you off. Mercy. Because they've been digging into your rights. It's my land you're running in. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to give you 4 points we're going to make. 1, release your right to personal dignity. Note in verse 39 how carefully Jesus chose his words. He says, slap you on your cheek. He didn't say punch you in the mouth. But a slap on the cheek, or a slap in the face, is not to be understood literally, but figuratively. It's a colloquialism for an insult. And when insulted, the natural tendency is to strike with a backhand insult in return. Am I right? I was standing on a corner one time some years ago when I was a young fellow. It may be hard for you to imagine what I was. And there was a group of us there, and a young lady came by, and one of the fellows decided to say something to her. And he said, boy, you really look nice. She turned and looked at him and said, I'm sorry I can't say the same to you. Well, that was an insult to him. So he turned back and said, you can't. You lie like I do. So no one wants their dignity taken away. But does that mean that we are never to defend ourselves? John Stott, in his writings on the New Testament, he says this: Christ's illustrations are not to be taken as a character for any unscrupulous tyrant, ruffian, beggar, or thug. His purpose was to forbid revenge, not to encourage injustice or dishonesty or vice. True love takes action to deter evil and to promote good. He teaches not the irresponsibility which encourages evil, but the forbearance which renounces revenge. Vengeance is mine, says who? The Lord. Some have taken this text 39 to the extremes. Martin Luther recants about a young saint who just lie there while lice were eating him up. And from what he'd taken it that he must suffer. This is not what Jesus was talking about. The second point is release from your right to cling to comfort. Verse 40 paints a picture of one who was in passion, in possession of a shirt, an inner tunic, and an outer coat. In those days, this outer coat was also used as a warming blanket during the cold heat. And it was protected by law. But Jesus said, however, that to his followers, if they sue you for your shirt, give them your coat too. Something that is legally protected. He's saying, release. Don't resist. If you have the comfort of a warm coat during the winter time, you know what it is not to have. I've seen on my visits at Christmas time to the underprivileged areas, I've seen people in this congregation during a cold, rainy day take off their shoes and give it to someone who didn't have shoes. Wasn't clinging to comfort. I've seen them take off their coats and give it to someone who were cold and wet, and their hats. This is what he means by being as releasing and not resisting even your own comfort. Number 3, release your right to privacy and a selfish schedule. In Jesus' day, it wasn't uncommon for a citizen to feel blade of a Roman spear on their shoulder, telling them to carry a heavy load that he was responsible for. Jesus is saying here, if an official engaged on a state business requires assistance, he could conscript any passerby into his service for the next stage of the journey. But the legal limit for such was 1 mile. After that, you could legally refuse to carry any further. But he's saying here, after you carried that 1 mile, go another mile. This is not for a Roman soldier that we're talking about. We're talking about for your neighbor. We're talking about for members of your family. We're talking about the community. Release your rights to self-respect. Number 4, release your rights to exclusive ownership. If God has allowed you to have something, whether it be a 2-ton truck or a little tiny spoon, He expects you to share it. 42 says, freely, graciously, not ungraciously, and not begrudgingly. In reference to this principle, Jesus exposed and the commentary from William Barclay asks a good question to us. Are we then to say that Jesus urges upon man what can only be called indiscriminate giving? The answer cannot be giving without qualification. Is it clear that the effort of the giver on the receiver must be taken into account? Giving must never be such as to encourage him in laziness or shiftlessness, for such giving can only hurt. But at the same time, it must be remembered that many people who say that they will only give through official channels and are often refused to give through personal causes are frequently merely producing an excuse for not giving at all, and are removing the personal element from giving altogether. You have those 4 points to think about. You have heard, Jesus goes on, it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. 43. The first half of verse 43 about loving your neighbor is taken from Leviticus 19, verse 18. But the portion about hating your enemy is not found in the scripture at all. It was a gross distortion of the law between the manipulation from the selfish hands of the rabbis and Pharisees. And surely they were aware of Solomon's counsel in Proverbs 25:21. If your enemy is hungry, you do what? Eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. Obviously, religious leaders of Jesus' time let their emotions get the better of them when they came to dealing with their enemy, choosing to hate them rather than to show them love. In verse 44 through 47, however, Jesus revises the traditional teachings about enemies. First, he states an underlying principle in verse 44. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. We're never told to love the evil that they do, but to love them. True love sees beyond the treatment it receives. Can I repeat that? True love sees beyond the treatment that it receives. In other words, if you know that you've only treated someone with love and respect, and they come back and treat you otherwise, it's your love that's going to get past this issue. True love does not need agreement to proceed. I don't know why she loves him. I don't know why he cares. But the same song says, I don't know why. But I'm glad he did, in other words. Yeah. True love promotes us to pray against all odds, doesn't it? Isn't that true love that cause you to pray for your children, no matter what the odds are, no matter matter what the condition they're in? Does true love stop you from praying for your children? True love shouldn't stop you from praying for even your enemy. But why are we to extend such love to our enemies? In verse 45, the first part provides an answer. In order that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. Words spoken by Jesus, they were Aramaic words, and they were very much akin to the Jewish language too. They both were Semitic languages. They were not rich in adjectives, so instead of saying he is a peaceful man, the Jew would say that he is a son of peace. Or instead of saying she is a godly woman, the Jews would say she is the daughter of God. Consequently, the phrase son of man, son of the Father, should be interpreted as Father. You are sons and daughters of God, of the Father. But technically, you should be God. Can I get a chair, please? Come on, man. Sons and daughters. How do we become like the Father? By emulating his example. Look at the last half of verse 40. It says, For he causes the sun to rise on the evil and good, and send rains on the righteous and the unrighteous. If God does this, how can you afford, how can we afford to be any different if we are God-like? Now this isn't a complex thing that we're talking about. We may not even know anything about the 2,300 day prophecy or the 24 elders. But I guarantee you follow this, you'll see the kingdom. Even without one. He shares the warmth of the sun without partiality. He shares the life-giving rain without discrimination. He expands comfort grace to the righteous as well as the rebellious. In verse 46 to 47, Jesus states that what separates us from the world is a superhuman love that extends beyond our friends and our family to encompass even our enemies. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not the taxpayers do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you more than the others? Do not even the Gentiles the same? Only God's love is so expansive. And if we are to become like him, we need to love like him. Be perfect, not merely human. The words of Alfred Palmer offers a gleam of insight into this passage. He says, to return evil for good is devilish. To return good for good is human. To return good for evil is divine. To love as God loves is moral perfection. And this perfection, Christ tells us to aim for. He knows that it's far off for most of us, but we aim for it. The word perfection in verse 48 is teleos. The Greek The idea behind this word is functional rather than philosophical. Functional love rather than philosophical. And then function means you put it in action. And you keep it in action. And you have to be superhuman to do this. And Jesus is asking you to be that way. Don't be just normal. If you are working on a car, for instance, and you need one tool, and someone brings you a tool that fits exactly the goal that you're trying to do, this is the tool that's performing what it was made to do. And when we love like this, we're doing just what Christ made us to do. Similarly, we fulfill the purpose for which we were made when we love as God loves. With a love so great that it stretches beyond the narrow borders of our human love. How may all this be applied? You sit there patiently, quietly, and wait. I see everybody. How can all of this be applied? Start with your relationship with your family, which is central to the relationship with others. Instead of clinging to your rights, release them. Be the first one to give up something in the house that everyone has to take turn using. Give up the TV, your special program, let somebody else. Release, not resist. Be unselfish. Start living for the good of the rest of the family instead of just for your own well-being. Then move next to the next circle, your friends. Instead of keeping a running tab on their related debts, look beyond their wrongs. Overlook the occasional breach of integrity that they may display. Then turn the other cheek and let them slap back. Finally, reach across the outer perimeters to where your enemies are camped. Fulfill your role by extending love to them. Be a blessing to them instead of a curse. Will all of this be easy? I don't think so. You will probably encounter all kinds of misunderstanding and treatment. Wilberforce faced that when he set out his efforts to free the slaves in England. They slandered him. They called him a wife beater. They even accused him of being secretly married to one of the slaves. Abraham Lincoln faced it when he set his attention to freeing the slaves. They slandered him and eventually murdered him. In our own time, Martin Luther King picked up the torch of civil rights and advanced the cause of black people, but he too was slandered by his enemies, scorned, and later slain with an assassin bullet. Will loving your enemy be easy? History teaches us. Will it? No. Will it be worth the effort? You bet it will. It may be a struggle, but that struggle will transform you. And can I say that again? It may be a struggle, but that struggle will transform you as well as the person. And when the angels look down from above, they will smile wistfully and say to one another, she's the spitting image of her body. I don't know about you, but I want to be like you. It's my desire to be like you. If we follow the statutes of these Beatitudes, I think we'll be able to say that we are struggling to be like Jesus. It's my desire to be like you.
Amen.
It's my desire to be like Jesus. It's my desire to be just like Him. No oft I fail, brought Him a shame. It's my desire to be like Him. It's my desire to help someone today, someone who may have failed to see the way. I too was once so lost, but I found my way to God, and it's my desire to be like Him. You can see where I started from, oh, to where I am today. You would know the reason I love my Jesus so. You can't take this world, wealth and its riches. I really don't need earth's power. It's my desire to be like Him. You know, if you could see where I started from to where I am today, you would know why I love my Jesus so. I love Him so. And you know what? You can take this world, all this wealth and this riches, because I really don't need earth's power. It's my desire. It's my desire. It's my desire to be like Him. It may be somebody's desire in here this morning to come closer to the Lord, and it is a chance now. If you feel that today you want to release instead of resist, it's a difficult task. but the effort is worth it, because he never gave up on you. Keep it in mind as you go through the week to release and not resist.